Okay, hello and welcome to Critical Tumblr, which is not voice actors, but still incredibly nerdy, playing Dungeons and Dragons. Very quick introductions because we're all still fairly new at this. We've got color coding problems because two of you are wearing purple. So let's start with the gentleman in the almost entirely orange. That would be Alex. We call him Smeagol. He plays Hazel, our half-elf cleric. The pretty lady in the purple and the glasses is Christine or Lindira. She plays Clarity, our tiefling rogue. The gentleman in the glasses and the purple is Ethan. He plays Darvin, our human bard. The bearded gentleman in the blue and the glasses. There's an awful lot of glasses here. He's Antheus,
Ouch.
Michael. He plays Froseth, our dragonborn monk, silver dragonborn monk. Let's simply say. And the pretty blonde down at the bottom there is Amanda. We call her Gally. She plays Nora, our long-suffering human paladin. Previously, okay. This all started only just under a week ago for the characters.
God, it's only been that long?
Uh-huh.
It's only been...
What a pilot episode.
Jesus.
This is what happens when we've only got session once every couple of weeks.
No. I just didn't realize that so much. I mean, even that, just so much has happened. I apologize. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted. I apologize.
They all met in a tavern, as you do in Dungeons and Dragons. Nora and Hazel, both being devotees of Palor, were the only two who originally knew each other. And in the course of events, they all essentially got together with the seemingly simple mission of getting Darvin paid. Darvin had been thrown out of a slightly unusual party at the Star Coast Barony's Manor when he made all of the nobles sneeze feathers.
Accidentally?
This is how he found out he was a bard. Going to Star Coast, however, they essentially landed in a den of evil of varying descriptions, and after setting a small army of halflings on guards who were trying to arrest them, discovering the Undercity, meeting Mira, the gnome thief, who might as well have been an assassin given what was going on, and Petunia, the gender-fluid half-orc sorcerer. They barged into Star Coast Manor to try to get to the bottom of things and hopefully stop whatever was going on. They lost Mira, and the poor gnome's corpse was turned into a gibbering mouther, which was somewhat less than fun. They dispatched the mouther, but they're not entirely sure why this happened exactly, because Clarity is the only one who's really magically inclined, and she hasn't really had a chance to think about it. It started turning into some kind of fog, which enveloped at the very least the manor and probably at least most of the town.
I didn't know that part. I didn't know it got that big.
Because I did say as you were escaping, the mist literally dogged you the whole way out.
I think I was too focused on the emotional impact of everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to the recap, they escaped with not only their lives, but the life of Evan, the 4-year-old gnome who is Mira's son, and a 13-year-old human girl whose name they still haven't quite figured out. And it's kind of lucky for them that they did find her, because when they grabbed a boat to get out, she was actually the only one who knew how to sail.
Thank the gods for the help.
Unfortunately, they did also lose at the very least, Darwin's mother, because of the nature of the killing blow, the gibbering mouther that turned into the fog landed more or less directly in front of and possibly on top of her. No one's entirely sure. And they could not get her out. The last they heard of Darwin's father, he was still locked in a jail cell.
And we lost Petunia.
And we lost Petunia as well. Petunia, they decided to try to hold things back as much as possible, stating that someone needed to get out alive. So all that Petunia asked them to do was try to get Evan out alive if they could. They managed that. So as we move into evening, the little boat, it's a little bit of a squish, but it's not, you're not all crammed in there and you're not worried that it's going to sink. And the 13-year-old human girl, despite still healing injuries from her run-ins with the Star Coast Guard, is handling the sail. And while you're moving against the current, the wind is on your side, which, given the fog behind you, might not be a great thing. But at the very least, you're getting away. Just to start, make me a perception check.
I forgot to open my character sheet. I knew there was something I was forgetting to do.
Yeah,
I'm
me
not the
too.
only one.
Ouch.
And it starts.
And it
So it begins.
First critical tumble of the session.
First
is me.
roll. Yeah,
First roll.
That's what
Very
happened last
first
time
roll.
too, guys.
Hello.
Don't forget that first roll.
That actually makes sense. Clarity's been the one who's been in the position more to notice things.
Do we have
I
a
haven't
perception
made
for
mine
Marvin?
yet, so yeah, I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
Moving on from here, I have asked for a perception check, and yeah, Hazel is still is having some sort of flashback to the gibbering.
So far, so good.
And no, you're sort of stuttering for me, but we'll leave it for the moment. If push comes to shove, we can just cut to an audio. Clarity notices that after a little while, because she's trying to stay out of the way, there's a lot of emotional charge going on back there, because a whole lot of shit went down. So she's basically looking off the stern, and she's the one who notices that the mist appears to have stopped on the outskirts of town. She also notices it's dark, so it's a little hard to see, but she's got fairly good low light vision. So she does notice that there seems to be, it looks almost like plant growth. Pinks and blues, just along the edges of town. And the mist seems to have stopped there. None of the rest of you notice this. You're all too caught up in your own stuff.
Mine being a meebling mess.
Yeah. And Evan is still just occasionally booping Darwin's nose. Okay, so what do you want to do?
Darwin's pretty much doing exactly what he's going to do, which is basically just being quiet, trying to, what's the word? Mentally digest.
Process?
Everything. Yeah, process. Thank you. That's the word. Process everything that happened and keeping an eye on Evan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the girl is just she's handling the sails as best as possible, and eventually she turns around and she goes, "Where are we going?"
Last I heard, we were going to Hazel's parents' house. It's a safe place. I'm not sure to get there from here, though.
The girl looks at Hazel, who's still
Just
meebling.
keep going upriver. There's a dock. It's really hard to miss.
Okay. And she goes back to sailing. She actually looks more assured now than she ever did the few times you saw her in the Undercity.
How do you know how to sail a boat?
Pappy used to sail. Pappy lost the boat.
I know a few people like that. What's your name?
Lissy.
Lizzie? That's a pretty name. I'm Nora.
I know.
That one's...
I heard.
Okay, all right.
Mira said.
Figured I'd make some official introductions, but hey, thanks for sailing for us. Apparently, we're all kind of not equipped.
Well,
It was a...
I can teach some of you how to handle the sail, because I'm sorry, but I'm probably going to need to sleep sometime. It's been
You
a bit
know
of a
what?
hard day.
Why don't you let me do something for you? Show me what to do.
Okay. Lissy gives a sort of a crash course in just how to hand, just no pun intended.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was about to say, please not. Can we refrain from the C word while we're on the boat? And the S word
giving
as in
sailor
sink.
to an inexperienced sailor.
Well, you know, in any case, she basically gives some pointers on how to maintain the sail and how to be into the wind even if it's not going directly in. It's starting to get on towards evening. Well, it's past evening and you've gone fairly late. It's gonna be a day and a bit to travel, so you'll be arriving at the Hearth around about not tomorrow lunchtime, but the lunchtime after that. So you've got a bit of a journey ahead of you. Is there anything you want to do in that time?
Hazel's going to be attempting to attune that staff that we picked up.
Okay, and you've got plenty of time to do that.
And when I'm not manning the sail, I'm gonna look at that book.
Okay, clarity. What you saw while Hazel was meebling and Nora was getting a brief intro to sailing and Darvin was having his nose booped by little tiny 4-year-old gnome and Froseth was probably just, staring out at the water going, a monk regrets his life, a monk regrets his choices.
If
Or
only I had.
meditating, but
If only I had. Yeah, if only I had kicked to the left and not the right.
What Clarity sees is two things. One is that the mist seems to have stopped at what might be considered the town borders.
Okay.
Number two, and this is a little bit of a hard one because the sun is well down, but, low light vision, you can manage well enough even at this kind of distance. You're pretty sure that plant life, it's a little low to the ground, might be flowers growing at the edge of the town line. It doesn't look like the mist goes past that.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, Nora is learning to sail.
And the girl's name is Lissy.
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 Lissi if you're actually writing things down, because I couldn't tell. So.
Yep.
And yes, what she has said as to why she can sail is that Pappy used to sail. Pappy lost his boat. She's not saying anything else, but you can imagine that what left her from, shipboard hand to the Undercity was probably not a very pleasant story on the whole.
Nobody's asked yet either, and I don't think anybody's going to right this second.
No.
So.
I'm just saying she's certainly not volunteering. She's just getting away. Okay, so Nora is learning to sail. Hazel's meebling. Darvin's babysitting. Froseth is quasi-meditating. Clarity is looking off the stern of the boat, probably going, what?
And it's the only one to have seen anything of use.
All right. All right. So I don't think that the mist is following us. It doesn't seem to go past the line of the city or the village. I think we might be safe after those flowers just there.
Yeah, none of you actually remember flowers when you came in.
There weren't flowers when we came in, were there? Darvin, do you remember flowers around the edge of the village?
No, the water is actually it's too close to the sea. Darvin, if he grew up in the area, which he clearly did, would know that the whole reason the town never had gardens, the upper crust always used to bitch about it, was that they could not get anything beyond like pondweed to grow beyond a certain point because the ground was too saturated with salt water. That shouldn't be happening.
What she said.
That doesn't make any sense. That's weird.
It's stopping the mist at
Strange.
least.
Okay, guys, make me a straight intelligence check.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna cry. I think I put together as a player what's just happened.
No,
I'm gonna cry.
if you've put it together yourself, you don't have to. The only reason I was asking for an intelligence check was because clearly it looked like you guys needed a bit of a nudge.
I think I've put it together. Can I make a guess and you can tell me if I need to make an intelligence check?
Yes.
Is that Petunia's doing?
Well, what's a petunia?
Oh God!
The session with me crying, can we not?
Oh my God.
Not no.
Cool.
Darvin doesn't know flowers. I didn't know they were petunias.
Sorcery is a very wild magic. It's almost impossible to know in some cases what can happen if shit gets real. So that's your guess anyway.
So, do you want me to go ahead and make an intelligence check? Or do you want me to make
No,
it official in
no.
character?
No, that's if that's Nora's guess, it makes sense.
Well, then that's okay. So, there weren't flower. Petunia.
And I just hold Evan a little tighter.
Don't squish
And
the kid, Darvin.
He's like, gnomes need to breathe.
Oh, sorry.
And then just boop, because this kid has absolutely no idea what's going on. It's everybody's upset and his mama's gone, so he's kind of holding it together, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Petunia's holding it back. She's giving us the chance to get out. They're giving us the chance to get out. Let's not waste it.
Okay. Any further conversation or etc. going to happen over the evening? Are you going to take watches or?
I'm going to at least look at Hazel and tell her, when you're more together, we are going to have words. Some serious ones. Because Petunia and my armor were the only thing that kept me alive. If you'd been more focused on healing and less focused on hitting, things might have been different. I think setting watches wouldn't be a bad plan, especially if we're going to be sailing through the night. That way we always have someone at the sail and someone to help keep them up, maybe, and
I'll take
the
first
rest of us
watch.
can sleep.
Not sleeping anytime soon anyway.
Well, by this point, Evan is probably sparked out.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping watch because I'm sitting up because Evan's curled up in my lap, just. And I don't want to move.
And I guess I'm going to keep sailing until somebody wants to learn how. And
I'll
it better
learn how
be.
to.
There's just me.
Yeah.
Well, Lissy can stay up long enough to show Froseth, no pun intended, the ropes, because we're avoiding the C word. And
And you yell at me.
You
Look,
are all terrible,
they
and I love
just-
the lot of you.
that's the thing. I see them coming, and I can't see a way to avoid them.
Now you know how I feel.
Just like the Titanic and icebergs, man.
Anyway, yeah. So Lissy shows Nora and Froseth and anybody else who actually wants to watch. Clarity would probably also be a good choice because at the moment she's the only one who's. Hazel is a little, yeah, but at some point it's probably going to occur to somebody that didn't Nora just take like the most immense beating? Why is she on first watch?
No, I thought
Because
I was.
I'm the mom friend, and doesn't the mom friend just do everything?
Fair enough. I'm just flagging up that will occur to somebody eventually.
Yeah, I only have 10
Probably
hit points.
me.
My max 19.
Yeah, you should probably rest first. I can stay up and sail then.
All right, I will. Thank you.
Before Nora goes to sleep, I'm going to take her aside, but speak loud enough that everybody else can hear. So, your Pelor, he's a god of the sun, yeah?
Yes.
Have you heard of anything called the Eaters of the Suns?
I don't think I have GM, have I?
Religion check from just about anybody who wants to make one.
Sure, I'll buy it.
It's the TN's going to be a little bit different for. Oh, guess who didn't pay? Oh my god!
And that's number 2! I cannot roll anything today.
Who didn't
Between
pay
enabling
attention
and Nora deciding to
any
yell
of-
at you, I think you're shot.
Guess who didn't pay attention in any of their religion classes at all?
Alright.
Cleric.
No,
Let's
all she got was coordinate the evil and then heal the good. God damn it, Darvin!
Show us Olive, why don't you?
I've heard stories. Religious stuff counts as stories. I
How
pull
many
them
crazy
from,
preachers have you run face first into?
I pull them from all sources.
Okay. Darvin has in fact heard stories. They're old stories, and he's not 100% sure, but he thinks they might have been being told by plane jumpers, because they don't sound like they were necessarily talking about anything that this plane of existence has seen, but they're things that exist out there, and there's obviously access points. What he knows is that there was in just about every pantheon there is a god of the sun and light, and there's always also a corresponding god of darkness. They are balanced.
Opposite.
But one day, on some other place, because these are names of gods that he's never heard of, the god of darkness went crazy. Not content with balance, they set out to destroy everything else, but that's not the nature of those gods. The songs and stories say, from what little he can remember, is that something else was behind it, something deeper than gods. He'd need to track down some of those old stories again to get anything more, but this was I mean, these were very specialized. These were probably proper bards with a capital B that were telling these stories. He'd need to find some like that again to hear anything more.
Okay. So, what she's telling you about are these gods who went nuts? Or are the followers of these gods who went nuts?
Or the stuff behind the gods. Deeper.
Okay, got it.
Has Hazel gotten enough of her head together to say, notice that someone probably is in need of a medical check?
Probably, given that
Well,
Nora.
but can I get the rest of this information out of Clarity? Can I do that?
Of course you
Yeah, no,
well-
just there. Hazel's waiting for the conversation to stop before she.
Why don't you actually, out of character, wait for the conversation to stop? Thank you.
Well, I don't know anything about these gods that may or may not have gone crazy, but I read some of the glyphs or whatever around the
You were able to read that?
Circle of Death. Yes, it's very little. It's ancient infernal, I believe. Tieflings, we speak infernal. And there was something about Eaters of the Suns, something about waking the sleepers or the dreamers, and then something I don't understand at all, something about the boiling meme.
Look on your face, my God.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. By all means, continue.
So, I don't know what any of that means. The words were there, and it had something to do with all of that went on back at the village.
Darvin, with that religion check, it might also occur that if those were the glyphs, the runes that were there, it's entirely possible that whatever they were doing, that creature that died was meant to have died in that circle.
And it did.
No, it
It
didn't.
didn't. It got kicked onto the table
Oh,
outside
that's
the
right.
circle.
I hit it out of the circle
Thanks for the reminder.
in the worst direction.
Oh,
Yeah,
can't
well,
blame
we
her.
can't. You're not entirely to blame if I dragged it farther away.
But
But
what,
that's not the point right now.
at the very least, what did not killing it in the circle do? If it was supposed to die in the circle, what did it not dying in the circle do?
Or what would it have dying in the circle done? I think
Well,
that's a
it didn't.
two-sided coin that we need both answers.
Mm-mm. I don't give a damn what it was supposed to do. It didn't do whatever it was supposed to do. What did it do now as
But
a
that's the
result?
thing is, they're both important.
All right.
Knowing what it was meant to do so that we know what might be coming down the pike, know what to look for, know what they were intending, and then know what's happened since we didn't follow their game plan. They're both important.
And
And Clarity, you had no idea what any of this might have meant? There's nothing you've read, nothing you've come across that was able to help you put any more together than that?
Can I make an Arcana check?
You can.
Okay.
Is there any kind of check the rest of us could make that might help put pieces together that we wouldn't have already made?
You can try for another religion check.
I'm gonna try. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, may as well try.
A little better.
This is so far outside the realm of your respective experiences, those of you who are going for a religion check. Froseth has very, very vaguely, and he grew up in a monastery, and he completed his very basic training, but as a child, he heard very occasionally, some of the more venerated monks, the ones who were no longer traveling the world attuning themselves to the elements, but were more in a teaching and research capacity, start talking about things that might touch on this, that did talk about things throwing the natural balances so far out of whack that it could. The impression was that the sentences might have ended with destroy worlds, but they heard him coming because, dragon claws, clack, clack, clack. And he was too young, so they shut up. Hazel was apparently had a very similar sort of a situation because nobody's going to tell Hazel this kind of shit because how is she going to react?
Badly?
Nora has done enough reading and, more to the point, has had more contact with one of her parents.
Which I'll remind everybody, not anybody knows yet. Nobody knows what my parents did before they had a tavern.
There had been stories that had always been promised to tell you when you're older. But they did come across things that were, they were not natural. They were not of this plane. They weren't content to rule or subjugate or just take. They wanted to end.
Okay.
Clarity has done a lot of research on this sort of thing. Clarity gets a sense that, she saw the woman. She didn't recognize the woman, but she had a sense of the power. Now, Clarity has lived all her life with a legacy of infernal blood and a little bit of that power in her veins. What she saw there was not infernal, was not its opposite number celestial. It was not the wild magic of a sorcerer or the inherited magic of a wizard or the natural magic of a druid. If anything, it was the flip side of a druid's magic. It was from so far outside that it's not something that a journeyman, as you all are, would have the words to describe. You'd have to find an older cleric, one of the bards that Darwin heard some of the old stories from, older paladins, any of the people that they might have heard shreds of those stories from.
Okay.
They'd need to find sources, real sources.
All right. Well, that gives us somewhere to start. I can't think too much more about it, though. I'm still, and honestly, I'm still a little unsteady on my feet. That was. I'd been prepared for a lot in the shrine, in the monastery, but not what I went up against. I'm just glad it was hitting me and not any of you.
Let's get you fixed up then.
Sit and start pulling off pieces of armor that I don't need.
It'd probably be best for you not to be wearing on a boat.
Yeah, that too. I get rusty.
And stinky.
Yeah, that's about what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That too. We go overboard, I'm in trouble. So I'm gonna start pulling off.
That'd be a good time to make medicine check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The initial healing spells are going to progressively improve things over the course of a night. That's the best explanation I have for getting all your hit points back when you've had a long rest. But at the moment, she is bruised and battered, and there's still spaces where the bruise is the dents in her armor have almost been enough to cut skin. Hazel does have probably courtesy her mother's actually a bruise salve that should help Nora be able to get to sleep easier. Somewhere in the bottom of her medicine kit, but
I almost did it. I had 2 hit points.
yes, I know, but that's why. I mean, your armor's gonna need some significant dinging out properly.
I'm gonna need to find a good blacksmith soon. Just got that stuff.
Hazel's handing her the bruise salve.
It smells kind of like marjoram and some other herbs. It's nice enough. It smells calming and medicinal, and it does cool and soothe some of the bruising.
Okay, so I'm gonna apply it to some of the worst ones.
And I guess that's about all you can do. Is there anything else anyone wants to do over the course of the next day or so?
Aside from sleeping, recouping.
And let's see, he's getting attuned to the staff. I'm gonna be reading the book.
Yeah, you'll be able to get about a third of the way there, because I mean there's not that much else to do.
Right.
And
Cool.
checking on the status of my instruments and checking up on Evan, trying to feed him whatever foods or rations we may have.
Yeah, you're getting kind of low on rations, but Evan's grown up in the Undercity. He will
Eat just about anything.
Yeah, well, baby teeth notwithstanding.
Well, yeah.
Jerky's a little bit difficult for him, but
I'll mush it up or something. Or
the
tear
thing
it.
with Evan, and frankly with Lissy, is that when the sun rises and they're sailing on through the day, they look absolutely awestruck by just the fields and bits of forest going by. They have clearly never seen this much green and open space ever, and Evan's just sort of not leaning too far off the side of the boat, but just peering and birdie, fishy, moose.
Oh god!
Cow!
I'll be like, no, cow, not moose, cow.
No, actually,
That's a moose. I start saying that, and then I actually look at it and go, oh, I'm sorry, no, that is a moose. You're right. When did you find out what a moose looked like?
You get the sort of look, and he's clearly actually trying not to look too miserable. It's like, Mama made a picture book.
Oh, and I try not to cry.
Your mama was a very talented woman. Very smart.
Could we stop? Could we stop? Could we stop?
Evan desperately looks like he wants to ask a question, but he sort of notices that Darwin is going to, and then sort of tugs on Nora's hand and pulls her as far out of earshot as possible, and sits her down, and is almost adult, sort of serious, and going,
No.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
My mama, she always said that we weren't in a good place, but we could still be good people. Was she good?
She was very good. Very good. She was the best. We wouldn't have made it out if it weren't for your mama. None of us would.
And Evan just sort of hugs her. Thank you. And then pads off, and it sort of precariously stands on the rail of the ship, and then boops Darwin on the nose.
Agile little thing.
He's a gnome.
I just
They
pick him
gotta
up.
be
I pick him
teeny
up, put him
tiny
on my
ninja.
shoulder so he can be a little higher and see farther, and I start pointing stuff out to him. And that's pretty much how I'm going to spend the day, is just hanging out with
Okay.
Evan.
Roseth?
Well, and checking on my
When
instruments
I'm
and
not
such.
not steering the boat, I'll probably just basically be looking down in the water studying it, since probably haven't been in a river this big since leaving the monastery.
No.
Do I need to roll hit dice or anything, by the way?
No. You've had a long rest. You've got your hit points back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sorry.
with the long rest, I'm assuming
Your spell
spell
slots.
slots are back as
your-
well and all
yeah.
that. Yeah, everything's been reset to
Awesome.
0, basically.
Awesome.
Clarity. You've got anything?
I'll be looking over my notes and stuff like that, but also I'll be occasionally trying really hard to sort of get close to Evan and try to play like peekaboo and stuff like that with him, and like
Aw.
hide and seek and stuff like that. But like I'm obviously really looking kind of nervous about it. Like, okay, am I going to scare the kid or?
Well, every so often, with the peekaboo, Evan sort of looks at her curiously, and then after a little while of that, sort of leans out, sort of holding on to Darvin's shirt to keep himself up, and boop.
And
This
I
kid,
figure.
this kid
Okay.
grew up in the Undercity. Very little shocks him.
Mhm.
Hell, Petunia was effectively godparent.
I figure I'm also going to unobtrusively just kind of share space with Lizzie.
Yeah, Lissy is mostly when she's not sleeping all over the ship. She's clearly coping by enjoying being
Like I
back
said.
on the water.
Unobtrusively.
Every so often, it just sort of waves at you from like her spot by the rudder. Hazel, when your stuff is attuned, what about you?
Mostly just a lot of checking over people to really make sure everyone's feeling back up to snuff
I'm fine.
in terms of health.
In terms of
And
physical,
beyond that, just sitting down somewhere out of the way and praying.
okay. You sail through a day like this. It's not the worst way in the world to spend time. You've got Evan occasionally, if he feels you're looking a little bit too much down, he will come up and boop. Even Froseth,
Froseth.
just despite
Keeping everyone.
you'd think all those teeth and the fact that the nose is more snout, but no, just lean boop.
Yep. That's yeah.
is adorable.
Froseth gets a whole hand boop. It's like boop, big palm boop on the snout. On a snout. Boop.
Push the button.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
You spend another night. Are you gonna take watches again?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it the same routine as before? Roseth and Darvin, Hazel and Nora, Clarity, probably, and Lissy, because I think of them, that means you've got one person who can sail all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
And Evan
Oh.
seems to like curling up in my lap to fall asleep, so I just sort of, that's why I stay up until he's firmly asleep and I can kind of scooch. Okay.
Heaven isn't a cat.
He's a 4-year-old gnome. They're tiny.
You are. Okay, fair count.
I'm
Yeah.
warm.
Fair count.
Okay, Nora and Hazel,
Yes.
make me a perception check.
Oh dear. Oh, where's my character sheet? There it is. Oh, shoot, did I roll twice? Oh, I did. The first one was 22, though. I didn't mean to roll twice, but
I'll go with the first one. Both of you get the same roll. Probably it's because Nora's about to start that conversation, but they happen to be looking off the same side of the boat, at the same time, and fairly close to the water's edge, they see a small light. It looks like it's probably a torch. It's traveling at about horseback speed. It goes to a trot and then stops and starts moving towards the river's edge.
Hazel, you see that?
Yep.
Do you think we should wake everyone up? You think we should stop? That's really unusual.
I mean, by that point, you've passed the frowning trout, and you're.
Okay.
That was really weird.
Well, no.
Yeah.
As you're having this conversation and having your bit of debate, the figure, and you're not very close to shore, so you're basically only just catching a glimpse of this. It's about a half moon, so there's a certain amount of light, but what you see is it's mostly a figure. I'm getting a buffering from Smeagol. Are you actually still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
Nora mostly just sees a figure, humanoid. By this point, the torch is just being extinguished as this individual waters the horse. Hazel is a half elf. Hazel sees human, male, older, familiar. This is Darvin's father.
Is that Darvin's dad?
Is there somewhere we can go? Can we get the boat ashore, like, or close to the river's edge, or something where we can?
You can steer the. I mean, you've gone past him now.
But-
Not very far, mind you.
Yeah. Turn around. You turn.
You turns a little bit harder, but you do more or less manage. The rest of you will probably wake up as all of a sudden the boat is going.
Huh? What? Huh?
Hey,
What?
your father down the river.
Wait. Crap, we left him in.
That way.
Wait,
Hazel
what?
points.
What? Oh.
By this point,
huh?
you're edging sort of towards the shoreline, and fairly clearly. And now that you're getting closer, yeah, Hazel's right. And the man has basically, he starts by lifting up the torch like it's some kind of weapon, and he sort of peers out and looks and sees what's approaching. You're still a little far away to talk, and he just sort of chucks it over his shoulder and kind of face palms with it, of course.
I'm just gobsmacked at this point. I'm just like jaw dropped, eyes bugged out, just because I realized the last time I saw him, it's at that moment I remember. Wait, oh crap, we left him locked up. But wait, he's right. What the shit? And also,
So are you sort of temporarily mooring at the shoreline as you approach him?
Yeah.
He watches. He steps the horse back. Now that you're this close, you can see the horse looks exhausted. He's clearly been riding this horse hard. But then again,
what he was riding out of makes a little sense.
And it looks over at all of you and looks particularly at Darvin. You made it out.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sure you tried. That's all he says.
Better than nothing, I guess.
It's good that I ran into you. Really. I saw that look. I've been seeing that look since you were in swaddling clothes. Your friend, the half orc, she it.
They.
He looks really perplexed about this, but they then they came out of the same spot you disappeared into. They were followed, but they managed to open the cell, said to tell you that you were going for Evan.
Yes.
It was the least they could do. Also said to give you and Evan this, and pulls out Mira's bag of holding. Chucks it into the boat. Apparently you need to think about what's in it. There's a bag of rubies, a bag of assorted gems, some trail rations, about 50 silver, and a picture book.
Ow.
And looks at Darvin, and he's clearly choking on the Reginald and chokes it back. Darvin,
Yeah.
you very much have your own road now. I'll wish you luck. That's about all I can do for you now, and give you whatever path you choose.
Thanks, Dad.
Can I just ask one thing?
Yeah.
Avenge her.
That was already in the works.
Well, strike
Okay.
a blow for me.
Always.
Gives you this little smile.
Always.
And gives you a little bow. Darvin Taylor with a Y. Maybe I'll hear you in a tavern one day.
Or at least hear about me.
Looks at the your assorted people. The company you keep, wouldn't doubt it. By this point, the horse has had a bit of a breather, so he gets back on.
Be safe.
Luck to you all. And rides out.
And point of order, that's the first time Darvin's referred to him as Dad. It's usually Father, and that's the first time he's called him Dad since he was a kid, like wee lad.
I kind of figured.
Yeah. And both my reaction at you mentioning the picture book as a player and Darvin's, you know what? Screw it all. That was in character. I'm just gonna say that right now because that was just wow. Damn.
And Lissy's just looking kind of confused, and Evan is sort of.
I go back to the boat and help Evan kind of get settled back in to go back to sleep. And if he can't sleep, I'll just pull out the picture book and hand it to him. Flip through it with him.
He hugs the picture book first of all.
Of course.
To be fair, there's not so much the flipping through it because he's not letting it go.
No problem. But it's something he can hang on to.
And from there, it is a moderately uneventful journey, unless you guys have anything further. If Nora and Hazel wanted to have that conversation when everybody goes back to sleep, or
I think Nora and Hazel need to have that conversation.
probably Hazel wants to have it before they get to their mom's to her mom's place.
Like a lot.
Okay, so are we assuming everyone's back asleep then?
Yeah.
I understand why the shrine sent me to guard you, but I was told that you were a practitioner of healing. And if you'd been doing, the only thing that kept me on my feet was the fact that Petunia thought to do whatever it was they did to me, and the fact that I wear plate armor. Without that, I would have died, and then where would all of you have been?
There's only so much I can do.
But you didn't do anything until after it was all over. You were too busy trying to hit things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to hit things. But for Pelor's sake, you're a healer. Heal.
1 second you were on your feet, the next second that thing had... everywhere.
It's something I've noticed the last few times we've had to deal with anything. You'd much rather smite things and burn them than heal people. It's not all about smiting. It's about caring for those around you and taking care of them.
I would point out that at this point, Nora's met the Hearth.
What would your mothers think? What would your mothers tell you?
Oh, she played the card. Oh man, sorry, I couldn't help it. I apologize.
I know what my
Yeah.
father would say.
Hazel's got no response, just squeaking.
Wow. And
Like, yeah, you've successfully shut her down for the rest of the day.
Well, night at this
function?
point.
yeah.
To function as a team, we all have to do our parts. To get through this alive, we all have to do our parts. Do yours. And then Nora just goes back to. I'm done. Nora turns away from me. Yeah. Hey, I'm Nora and Hazel. It just kind of like. Nora.
Now you understand why I keep. Anyway.
But turns away from Hazel and goes back to sailing the ship. Sailing the boat.
Yeah,
I think that was a successful riot act reading.
that was 100% successful.
Yeah, the delivery on that.
Hazel's-
That's why I flipped out when you actually played the line, because it was not only that you did, but that your delivery of it was just like, oh snap! I'm sorry, I lost control. I couldn't help it. I apologize.
Nora's not playing. That's something I've noticed since all the actual combat started. She's not playing.
That
no,
was
she's
just
not.
damn.
Okay, so we've had the conversation. We're sailing the boat.
And that's pretty much the rest of the journey, and that probably means that this is a good place to take a break, because there won't be as good an opportunity further on down the road because of the technical issues. We might end up overrunning a little bit, but I'll try not to. Anyway, we'll take a 5 minutes, grab a drink, grab a potty break, etc., and we'll see you back here in 5. back.
Okay, we're back. Yes.
Okay. You've had your day and a half's worth of travel and your various meditations and studying of the elements and you know, watching as Evan learns that there is an outside and it's actually really pretty. And on that second half day of travel, you're mostly cruising past fields rather than any kind of forestry. And a little bit after what would be lunchtime, and you've basically run out of rations by this point. So it's just as well that you're going to be stopping somewhere fairly soon. Hazel would be the one to spot it, although Nora has seen it from the other direction. There's this little, it's small but well-maintained little dock. Moored to it is a rowboat. It's old, it's patched, but it's clearly been maintained with care. And as you get closer, you spot there's bushes. They appear to be blueberry bushes, and poking out of one of them is this little strawberry blonde head, pigtails, pointy ears, and singing. Well, sort of singing. It's this kind of tuneless dee 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 dee. Nora will remember there is a small half-elf strawberry blonde.
Hazel, isn't that one of your sisters? In the bush.
That looks like. Yep.
That would be Skylar, who peers out of the bush at the sound of oncoming boat, and then you just hear this, "Yee! Hazel! 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 Hazel!" madly waving, almost waves a hand carrying a bucket full of what appears to be blueberries, nearly beans herself in the head with it. She calmly steps out onto the dock, puts it down, and then starts hopping up and down on the dock, waving both arms, pigtails bouncing. Hazel, 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 Hazel.
It runs in the family.
Yes.
The
it
gesturing
does.
while holding objects that shouldn't be gestured with. Yes.
Yes,
It
but she
does.
puts it down first.
That's
Is the thing.
Well, after almost
After
beating
nearly-
herself in the head with it.
So
that's like a running thing apparently
let's go
now.
into the dock.
Lucy's sort of going, I guess that's the dock we're looking for?
Yeah.
I
Hard to
would,
miss,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
So she guides you in and says, could one of you just tie us to the post? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll jump over and tie it to the post.
The little half-elf girl is just sort of looks at you.
A
Closer
huge
to-
dragon comes leaping out of the boat. Ah, poof.
Funnily enough, though, this does not actually phase her all that much. Froseth's been traveling. He'd been to a few taverns, and he'd mostly been getting a lot of sort of looks, but not this one. She's like, "Hello, are you a friend of Hazel's?"
Yep.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Skylar, and holds out a hand.
Oh my god, that's adorable.
He'll finish tying the boat and then shake her hand. I'm Froseth.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This resumes bouncing. Hazel. Hi, Miss Nora.
Hi, Skylar.
And Hazel's out of the boat.
You got
Will my
friends.
armor fit in the bag of holding?
Yes,
Mhm.
your armor. It's a bag of holding.
I know, but I don't know if I should put it in there. If I should not. Do you know how much experience I have with these?
Well, and to be fair, bags of holding do have a cubic foot limit.
But
See?
it's not. You can. I've seen people fit carpets.
Okay,
And
yeah.
full-grown
Crystal does
humans.
have a carpet, and didn't they have like a yak in there at one point that died? Okay.
There's a lot of cubic footage in
So
those.
I'm gonna take a second and shove all of my mangled armor into the bag.
It's still light and portable, and these are kind of awesome things.
Yep, we have two of them now.
Meanwhile, Skylar has just launched herself at Hazel and is sort of hugging her around the waist. Hazel. We didn't expect you back for ages. Are you
And
done adventuring now?
Yeah. When she leaps onto Hazel, I'll put a hand on the middle of on the like between the shoulder blades of Hazel, so Hazel doesn't go falling back. I'm assuming that was done as Hazel was stepping up out of the boat.
No, actually, Skylar did wait until she was further up onto the pier.
Okay,
Skylar's
fair
a
enough
little
then. That wasn't clear. Never mind.
Situationally aware. Skylar's a little more situationally aware than Hazel
Hazel
is.
is, okay. I wasn't sure just how much ran in the family, so that's why I was erring on the side of caution.
Because I'm still shoving armor in the bag.
And then she turns around and sees, you made more new friends. Hi.
Yeah.
Just waving at everybody.
Just sort of
And
waves.
Clarity probably hasn't seen this much, friendly hello. And just sort of looks a little closer at Clarity and goes, "You're pretty."
And Evan's sitting here because I can't reach him. What do you to hold his hand? So just save some.
And Evan is just sort of, you don't think he's ever seen anyone quite this friendly before, so he's just sort of, hi.
I think it's okay.
Are you coming to dinner? Are you coming to dinner? Are you coming to dinner?
We'd
Yeah.
like to.
Yeah, we
Do you
are.
think your mom's have enough going right now?
I'ma go and tell
Okay.
Mama that you're coming. So
Don't forget the
that they're
blueberries, sweetie.
worth it. Thank you.
Don't forget your basket. Bye.
Grabs. Boom. Really
Little
quickly.
tiny little dust cloud.
Yeah, pretty much. Patters on down the path. You sort of hear, Mama, Hazel and Miss Dora, come back.
I love the mom. That's awesome.
All right, so I'm going to finally vault over the side of the boat with the bag and kind of land on the dock. Be good to go. Okay. I just need a minute.
Okay. Are you following along after the little dust cloud?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of figured we would be.
I'm following
Yeah,
those two
Hazel's
'cause I don't know
already
where
on
we're
her
going.
way.
I'm following
As-
those
as-
two. I don't know where we're going. So
It's about a mile and a half down a reasonably well maintained dirt road. As you get about half a mile in, you see this scarecrow off in a nearby field. It's wearing it's sort of a knight scarecrow of sorts, although possibly more like a paladin because it's wearing armor that's made out of an old tin bath, an old saucepan, and somebody has managed to scrape the symbol of Palor on the front of what would be the breastplate. In
like-
the
You know-
field.
The first time I came, Skylar asked me if I was a scarecrow. It was really a very fun conversation.
see, I just see that, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you posed. Nora.
Pay me enough money and I might.
Hey. Yes, I made Galley fall out. All right.
In the field, you'll see this. There's this sort of dark-skinned half-orc boy. He's large, but given you've been around Petunia, you probably peg him as a teenager. He's still got the sort of lanky, all elbows and knees, but he's a strapping sort of a lad, and he looks over at the various bits of commotion and laughing, and then just waves. Hi, Hazel. Hi, Miss Nora.
Hey,
Love,
Kath.
Cool. This is pointing at Froseth.
Would you like to come over and say hello?
I still got some stuff to do, but I guess I'll see you at dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there.
As you go by, and Evan is sort of going, he was like Petunia, except a he.
Kind of. Yeah, they're both half orcs, Petunia and Keth.
Okay.
This is great.
You continue the last mile or so. There's a field with a couple of what one presumes are dairy cows and some sheep. And then you get to the chickens and the occasional goose. And
I nudge Darvin. I nudge Darvin and point at the cows and say, "Look, not mooses."
That's in character.
That's a nice poem.
and you've got Evan actually now standing on Darvin's shoulder, leaning one arm on top of his head, pointing at the cows, and goes, "No moose!"
Not moose. You are correct, young sir. Not moose.
Very much not moose. Though almost as much mooing noise.
No. Mama said, moose go, and cows go.
Very
Mama.
true.
He's not wrong.
Moose are quite a bit more terrifying than cows.
You've never been on the wrong end of an angry cow, have you?
Have you ever been on the wrong end of an
I've been on
angry
the-
moose?
Is there a right end of an angry cow or moose?
There is no right
The
end.
one that's running away. On the side that's running away. That's the right side.
Yeah.
As you pass a small copse of trees, there seems to be some apple, some hazel, funnily. And as you get to a bend in the road about there, you see, first of all, you see this hill, which seems to have in it a sort of roundish front door and equally roundish windows with little window boxes, which are herbs rather than flowers. Beyond that are some more fields, a barn, and what looks to be a nearly completed outbuilding, which is more sized for larger humanoids and, probably guests. Standing just sort of off the main road are two halflings. One is a average height woman, pale blonde hair with little threads of silver in. Might be premature because she still does look fairly young. Kind of fluffy in a bun that's not quite staying. Either her hair is too fine or she just can't be bothered to make a proper job of it and just goes, "Good enough," and goes about her day. She's built on angles and circles, this one. Round little cheeks, big round blue eyes. Just the picture of homey, huggy mom kind of individual. Standing beside her she's kind of tall for a halfling. She wears her brown hair also in a bun, but it's very precise, and from the size of it, you can imagine that's a lot of hair in there. She is more built along straight lines, a narrow little face, but her eyes are very kind. She also looks familiar to you all, not because you've met her, but because you saw her younger sister. She is the one that steps forward with the Skylar sort of bouncing at the blonde halfling's side. And first she reaches out, hugs Hazel, holds out a hand to Nora, and offers to bring her in for a hug as well.
Nora does.
And then she turns around to the others and says, "Welcome to Hearth Home. My name is Miranda. This is my wife, Twilly. You've met Skylar, and I imagine you've seen Keth in the fields. Skylar says you'll be staying to dinner, and I would hope overnight."
So long as you've got the room and the food, we'll work for it.
You're fine. Any friend of Hazel's, you know that.
You also know I have to offer.
Oh, of course, but your guests, at least for tonight. And there's a look to her that she's looked at you, all of you, And she's going to be very insistent about, for tonight, you're our honored guests. We can talk about what happens next after that. And Twilly at this point just sort of bustles up and does the hugs. It's like, Hazel, I wasn't expecting to see you for months. It's so good to see you again so soon. Hello, Nora.
Oh, Miss Tilly.
Please, just Twilly. And who are your friends?
Hazel, would you like to introduce your mothers to our friends?
Yeah. This one with all the musical stuff is Darvin. The big, scaly one's Froseth.
And Miranda looks at you. What have we said about introducing people by their physical characteristics, Hazel?
Yes,
That gets an audible out of Darwin.
Anyway. That's Clarity.
Doesn't even try.
It's fine. I've always been the scaly one.
And then Miranda turns around and says, perhaps that's true, Froseth, but here we prefer to, for example, we would introduce Nora as the upstanding young lady at the front. We would introduce Clarity as the quiet young woman to my left. Darvin we would probably introduce as the clearly musically inclined gentleman with a rather unusual young friend. Hello.
This is Evan.
And Evan just, hi.
And this is Lissy.
Lissy is almost hiding behind Nora, just waves. It's like,
The little hand sticks out from behind Nora.
yeah, pretty much.
That's adorable.
But it's pretty clear that they're used to just about any reaction. You look like you've been traveling a while, says Miranda. We have some dinner to sort out, but we can see to a warm bath. Nora actually knows that when they say this, what they mean is they've got some warm spring sort of off in the wooded area, which they've actually sort of separated out with the sort of bushes into sort of his and hers kind of a situation. And so clearly there's sort of, we have some clothes. It should be about various people's sizes. I think we can, with a little bit of tailoring, I think we can even manage something for Froseth. Not to be offensive, it just looks like you could use a change of clothes.
It's not offensive. I can smell me. It's fine.
I wasn't going to say anything.
You shouldn't. You smell worse.
you get Twilly snickering and Miranda just sort of shaking her head in that indulgent sort of way.
Well, you're not wrong.
And she calls out, Zana, Oscar, and out of the house pads little gnome girl, olive skin, dark hair. This one just single ponytail. And she looks around and sort of waves at you all. Behind her is a young boy, probably about her age, and you can only really tell that because, well, she is gnome. He is got that stocky sort of build that indicates a dwarven boy. Brown hair, kind of pale. Looks a little bit more wary. Is it more or less steps up to Froseth, and Miranda just grabs him by the shoulder, going, "They are not actually silvers, Oscar."
Oh, God.
He's a bit of a metal worker. I apologize.
Oh, my.
Oscar, will you please show Froseth and Darvin and Evan to the boys' side of the spring? Zana, you and Hazel can show Clarity, and Nora already knows, but it's polite to show them anyway. And Lissy to where the girls bathe. if you can get Rasan to grab some extra ducks we've still got hanging in the barn, Twilly. Of course, boom, off she goes.
Extra.
Please make yourselves at home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The kids sort of they ask questions, but they seem to be sticking very much to the very basics, like so where are you from and what do you do and ooh, twangy thing.
Twangy thing.
These are he's probably never seen before.
No, fair enough. I love this. It's one of the best things about having kids is the things they come up with.
In this flood of questions, it turns out that both of them are age 10, and they've got big dreams of opening a sort of a tailor's and jeweler's joint shop when they're older.
And when I hear that, I pipe up with, I should introduce you to my father. He's
They actually look a little bit bewildered at the concept.
Of a father. Because remember, they have 2 mothers.
Oh, right.
Oscar,
well, he's a tailor.
Oscar looks a little less bewildered, but a little more sort of. It's not quite sad. It's more resigned. In any case, they lead to a spring. It's been sort of portioned off by what appear to be more blueberry bushes. There's a sort of a wooden box that's been nailed to a fair-sized tree, just about in the right sort of range for an older child to be able to reach it. Which they open up, and there's fresh towels and what appears to be homemade soap, which they hand off, and just shout if you need us to lead you back. We've got apples to pick. And off they boom, and just leave you to your respective baths. And Lissy is like, I've heard stories about the Hearths. I think Mira was gonna ask if she promised to visit and bring money from time to time, if maybe Evan could grow up here, because she wanted better than sewers. So
It's a wonderful place. I wish that there had been something like this when I was growing up.
this is probably a little difficult for Nora because she, of the girls, I mean, the only reason Hazel had such a solid upbringing was because she lived here.
Yeah, so Nora's just kind of quietly listening and not really saying much. Because, yeah, that is something that I don't know that out of character, somebody put this together, but I think Christina's gone. I'm the only one left who is with my birth parents and has a good relationship with them. It's just me. So Nora's just listening and cleaning up.
And Evan's sort of having wonderful fun with the soap.
Splashing and
Well, it floats.
that too.
And there's bubbles.
I mean, he's managed to keep as clean as possible. With what clean water they could get that wasn't for drinking, but it was never a fun smelling soap experience kind of
And
a
this
deal.
is a totally different thing. And yeah.
And the whole thing with
warm
soap that gets
and-
slippery and it rocketing around.
You can actually hear the splashing and the giggling and the.
And Darvin's just laughing and carrying probably carrying on almost as much, just because it's the first time he's had a chance since everything, and he's just trying to forget for a minute.
Hey, Lissy? That offer extends to you now, too, if you want to stay.
you get Lissy looking. You haven't even asked your
You haven't.
mothers about Evan yet.
They're not the sort to say no to this kind of thing.
I'm still probably gonna wait for the people who still actually live here. They don't know anything about us, and it's nice of you, but I know that you probably mean it, but I need it from them, and yeah, and then she just sort of pads off to the towels.
I'm assuming that on our side we couldn't hear any of that conversation,
You-
especially me and Evan, because we're too busy splashing around carrying on.
Froseth probably heard some of it, because I mean there is just blueberry bushes screening, and mostly what you guys hear is Splash giggling, Darvin laughing.
Yep.
Which is probably the first time since any of this started. Really laughing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going for.
So I'm gonna get done, and I'm gonna dry off, get clean change, because we
Yeah,
had
but
clean
when-
changes of clothes brought down, right?
Well, by the time you guys are done, on top of the box nailed to the tree is actually some changes of clothes. They're homespun woolen things. They're relatively nicely dyed. They're clearly well kept hand-me-downs. They've been the Hearth Hearts have been raising children for a very long time. They don't throw anything away unless it can't be used anymore. So the clothes you get are warm, comfortable, well made, but clearly have been worn before. Lissy is sort of looking at this woolen sort of dress, and she's in it, but she's looking at it like she's never worn anything like this.
Anything this nice.
Looks good
So-
on you.
Lissy just sort of blushes.
Darvin's
and-
Darvin's admiring the handiwork. This is,
Yeah, it's clearly hand stitched.
yeah, but well done.
Okay, so
And
I
I
know your
help
mothers
Evan.
are
I
gonna
help Evan
tell
get
me.
dressed.
I know your mothers are gonna tell me no, but you know I won't feel right if I don't offer help. So I'm gonna go up to the main house and offer to help get dinner ready. Lissy, would you like to come with me, or would you like to stay with Hazel and Clarity?
Lissy sort of nods. She clearly feels very uncomfortable, like not doing anything. She does not come from a world where this happens.
There's no such thing as leisure.
Or a free
You know,
lunch.
Yeah, that
And
too.
just in character for a moment, I'm gonna kind of run my hands through my hair because it's the first time I've had it down since all this started, and go, God, those braids were hurting my head. Just
Well,
head
no,
off to
that's
the
not
house.
true. They
No,
they
prison.
undid your hair.
the prison. That's
Yes.
right.
But because you'd had to redo them so quickly, you
It wasn't
probably
like-
had pins pricking in the wrong places, and you've had the helm of comprehend languages on top of them.
Yeah.
And you never realized how much those pins could dig until you were actually wearing a helm.
I need to rethink how I braid my hair for next time. All right, and off to the house I go.
At the main house, the
I'll
doors
head
open.
up as well.
The doors open, and what wafts out is the smell of fresh baked bread, roasting duck, and what appears to be blueberry pie. The kitchen is a bit of a bustle. The little gnome girl identified as Zana is helping chop things and dumping them in a big pot, mostly like carrots. And Skylar is shelling peas, and it's a busy sort of a situation at the moment. It's a fairly large kitchen. Most of it does seem to be it's very Hobbit hole like. So a lot of it is underground with little windows sticking out of hillsides. On top of them, there is a half elf boy, sort of amberish colored skin, very dark hair, very dark eyes, kind of wiry. He's got a fairly nasty scar across one shoulder, which you can see because his shirt's a bit unlaced and it's leaning off. But he doesn't seem to be bothered by it until the guests come in, at which point he yanks his shirt back up, and he sort of waves at them. There's another half elf female, very dark skin, very filthy dark hair. She's a little shyer around the rest of the company, but she does sort of give a little twiddly finger wave and then starts pulling pies out and sticks them on a windowsill to cool. There's Oscar is setting the table, and there's another half orc who's mostly sort of dealing with the bread. She's probably about 8. It's hard to tell though. Her skin is almost a pale gray. Her hair is the same off blonde dishwater color as Lissy's. And Twilly and Miranda are obviously overseeing everything, and it's Miranda who does the introductions. You've met Kath. That's Ramas, pointing at the older half-elf boy. Mela, the half-elf girl, who's sort of waves again from the windowsill. You've met Oscar and Zana and Skylar. And that's Dawn, pointing at the half-orc. And Evan's going, it's Petunia, but like a she.
Yes. You are very correct, Evan.
I giggle a little.
Well, Kath and Dawn sort of look at him like, what do you mean he? What do you mean she? Well, I had a friend. Their name was Petunia, and they weren't a he and they weren't a she, except when they decided they wanted to be. And
Petunia was a half-orc.
And half a few things.
And they sort of
Darvin!
How else? Okay, I'm just
Darvin!
sorry. Bad fun.
But they don't none of these kids seem phased at all. They're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, see?
You get Miranda going. They were raised by 2 mothers, and some of their circumstances were a little bit interesting. I think they can understand the concept a little. Right. If you'd like to help, we could use some help getting the dishes out to the table. Nora, if I could have a moment. Oh, Twilly is now organizing everybody, just sort of going, right. Froseth, you are the more strapping of us all. If you could help bring one of the ducks, there's 3 of them, because obviously we've got some appetites here. Darvin, if you could help with the bowls of greens. Clarity, the potatoes, and she's organizing the whole thing with the Hazel.
She's the chief.
Hazel, hands off the pie until dessert. It's still cooling.
Yep. Not going anywhere over there.
Have we stopped calling me mom now? Have you been away so
No, Mom.
very long?
No, Mom.
Did wanders away with that typical mother. I am overblowing this because I miss affection from my daughter kind of thing.
There will be hugs. There will be many hugs.
Miranda takes Nora aside while this is going on and says, not to unduly poke my nose into your affairs, but I got the impression when you came in that there had been you came from a very difficult time. I understand that we will probably need to hear about this, and more, you will probably need to talk about it. I would ask if we could keep conversation around the dinner table light. We need to send the little ones to bed early anyway. There's a market fair tomorrow. We were going to bring it up at the time, and we want to make sure they get plenty of rest. And after that, though, we'll have the conversation that I think you need to have. But until then, we just don't want to upset the little ones unduly. Is that all right?
No. Of course, I wouldn't think to upset the small ones.
I'm sorry, but we raised Hazel. We have to kind of.
No, I understand.
Sorry, that was out of character. Oh, snap.
I trust me, I'm right there with you. I understand, and I wouldn't think of bringing anything like this up at the dinner table, especially in front of the children.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, we had a visit from Con. Just the day after you left, in fact, and he brought this coffee from one of the southern lands. We'll serve that up with some of the maple liqueur that one of our neighbors down the road makes, and we'll have that conversation.
I have to admit, that is a kind offer. I don't think I have the bearing and the breeding to refuse, even though I probably should.
No, you really shouldn't. We keep that sort of thing for guests. We'd never have it if you didn't accept it. And she trots off. Right, dinner time. You sit around the table, and this, all things considered, given the inns that you've been in and the places that you've been, this is the best, homiest, most family meal you guys have had. Probably not only since this sort of thing started, but Hazel and Nora since they were last here. Clarity probably since the incident with her brother. Darwin has had meals this nice, but never this warm. And monasteries don't do this.
Yeah,
and
I think between the two of us, like Froseth has got me beat as far as, last time a meal was had like this. But even so, we're pretty close, just for various reasons.
The conversation tends around the more natural, unless somebody has anything and any things they want to bring to dinner time conversation.
Hazel just wants to know if Con was by because, well, she didn't hear the conversation.
Yes, Con actually dropped by the day before you left. Day after you left. Con, by the way, speaking for the rest of them, is one of our older boys. He's a young man now, really. Actually, he's a bit older than you all, but to be fair, you all look fairly young to us. He's a half orc, and he runs sort of a peddler wagon. He's in trade. He comes by with seed and feed and some various other things, and he's managed to get a line on that Southern Lands coffee that your sister Andrea introduced us to.
And it sounds amazing.
Have we heard anything from Andrea?
We did get a letter from her just yesterday. She sent 5 gold. She seems to be doing fairly well. She lives out in the free city of Belarus. We're not entirely sure what it is she does, but we're choosing to respect her privacy.
Mm.
And from there, you just get Skylar going. She was really pretty. Probably still is. I don't know. I haven't seen her.
No, you're right. And people change, but I'm willing to bet she's still very pretty.
She's half elf, like me, except I'm not so pretty.
Oh, you're very
plenty pretty.
I know I'm plenty pretty, or at least that's what Mom and Mama and other people say, so I'm choosing to believe it because I don't want to think anybody would lie to me. But she's prettier. Yeah, and Ramas, who is really going to be a heartbreaker when he grows up, is like, to be fair, she's prettier than basically everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, he's completely right there.
And you get Keth making the joking remark of, she's still technically your sister. Stop that.
Like actual proper laughter out of Hazel.
Yeah, it's clearly a very old joke, but dinner progresses, and mostly you get some indication of the little one's stories. Kath, you'll notice closer up, has got a brand scar right smack in the center of his forehead. And to get it out of the way, he explains that Mom and Mama, they saw my, well, come on, Mom and Mama, it's true, they were my owners. And Twilly explains, there was a traveling merchant. We didn't like him very much. We liked him even less when we found out that he was keeping a young half-orc slave. So, Miranda and and Miranda puts a hand on her shoulder, because it's a long table, but Twilly and Miranda both sit at the head. They're essentially at this point trusting the older ones to help serve up the younger ones. So Miranda puts a hand on Twilly's shoulder, and in this sort of we took steps, and Keth came home with us. Ramas is just sort of going, yeah. I can tell you how Mom dealt with my mom. My mom had an affair with some elfy diplomat guy, or so I'm told, and Mom said Dad was gonna do bad. Well, the human dad was gonna do stuff to me if I didn't leave. So she was gonna find a merchant like the one what owned Keth, and they found out, and Twilly went round to the house and started smacking human dad with a wooden spoon, shouting something about maybe if you were less of a horrible person, your wife wouldn't feel the need to seek affection from other men. And he's actually waving his fork around like Julie with the spoon. And I came home with them.
Glory to Mom.
Twilly just sort of grins. And Miranda's like, we don't stand for that sort of thing. Apparently, all of the kids were found or left with them, or
rescued.
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. The Shire ones start opening up a bit more as dinner progresses. Mela, she talks about the fact that she mostly works with the animals, and we're thinking of getting goats.
Goats?
If the taxes aren't too high this year and we do well at the market, we're gonna get goats. Because goat cheese is supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Definitely is.
I get to look after goats.
Speaking of looking after, anyone seen Nope?
Yes, at which point, hang on. Darvin winds up with Thump cat on his lap. Big barn cat. Sort of ragged ear, but well brushed. It's clearly a cared for cat. and starts sniffing around at the remnants of the duck on his plate.
Oh, there's Noop.
I just sort of like look around with eyebrow raised, like,
And Melik just grabs him by the scruff, yanks him. Nope, not guest dinner. You can have the leftovers later. And she's just literally holding this cat up to her face by the scruff of the neck. And
it's all right. I mean, I just wanted to make certain it was all right to, slip her a little right now. I was fine.
No, you Noop can have what you leave. You finish your dinner first.
Fair enough.
Mom and Mama, they're very big on hospitality.
Understood.
Sorry, it's a big word.
It is a big word, and I'm very proud of you for getting it right. Good job.
Hazel's got this megawatt smile on at this point.
Well, Mella's about 12, so there's a slight sort of okay. Because they're farm folk, and farm folk are not usually known for their literacy.
I caught that.
And they sort of they ask questions of the lot of you. With Nora, it's more along the lines of, and your family's doing well?
They are. I last heard from my brother that the tavern is still doing fairly well. I had a line for them on some amazing whiskey, but I don't think that's going to be working out quite as I'd hoped. Mom and Dad are just being Mom and Dad. Dad's still caring after people. Mom's still entertaining them. And my brother's still running the bar.
Miranda just sort of smiles and goes, parents very seldom change in that sort of regard.
This is very true. If I've learned nothing else over the course of my life, I have learned
Darwin just...
Mom and Dad are now who they were.
Clarity gets... when Khan came through, he didn't have any of the sort of tomes that you might be interested in, but we get the impression from some of your bits and pieces that you're very much a studious sort of individual. He left us a notebook. We honestly don't know what to do with it. You wouldn't be able to give it a good home, would you?
Oh, I will take any books. I love books.
Well, it's a blank notebook. It's more for jotting down notes. I think
even better.
All right, and it's none of the girls actually wanted a diary, so we would just sit and gather dust, really.
Oh, I would love to have it. Thank you.
We'll leave it with your things. We'll after dinner we'll discuss. We're hoping you can at least all stay another night, because there's a large market fair tomorrow. It's going to be a very big deal for our little town. It's there's going to be entertainment. Probably less minstrels and more actual bards, and
at which Darwin's eyebrow raises pointedly.
And while we don't oblige our guests to work, we thought that maybe you could help us show the little ones around. We're going to have to be selling produce, etc. So
I'm going to, at which point I want to turn to Evan and go, hey, Evan, you want to go to a fair? Yeah, I'll take that as a yes.
What are the chances there will be a blacksmith in town who might be able to handle my armor? I got in a bit of a scrap and it needs some repairing.
Twilly and Miranda sort of look at you. It's Twilly's like, it's a small town. We need a blacksmith.
I just thought I'd double check. I wasn't really clear how small the town truly was. I've heard of towns that are no more than 10 or 20 people, more communes than true towns.
There's always a blacksmith. There's
to be fair, there is
blacksmith.
always a blacksmith.
Yep.
We do need someone to shoe the horses, but you are in luck. Our blacksmith, Jenna, she has actually come from a background that would allow her to maintain armor. Mostly she does remain in a certain amount of business because, well, we're still on the river and there is some roadway, and to be honest, some of our little ones have occasionally gone on to do adventuring, which given that that's where she's actually got the armor that's currently got so dented.
I try to take care of it, I promise, and I'm grateful for it. It
Did it
saved my
protect-
life.
Yes, that it did its job. You have nothing to apologize for. We're just saying that, yes, and Jenna does owe us a favor or two, so we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
And then, Furseth, are you from up north by chance?
Yes, I am.
We've always sort of wondered what it's like up there. The only indications we've ever had are we used to occasionally get traveling caravans from up in Cragveer. That's where Oscar came from originally, but bandits. We just wondered what it was like.
It's
It is okay to say I spent most of it in a monastery, so I really don't
Yeah.
know.
I can't describe most of it. Like I grew up in a monastery, enclosed, daily routines. It was all very just that's kind of how it is, just a routine each day, going through the motions, centering myself, yeah.
That's all right. We just sort of wondered, largely for Oscar's sake. We thought it might be nice if we could find out where he came from, but that's all right. It sounds like monastery living is a little bit different than temple living.
Though,
You could
speaking of
certainly say that.
routines, like I miss doing my routines most mornings. Is there like I would assume there's no like training dummy in the you guys have, but is there like trees or something I can beat?
The two halfling mothers they turn around and they just sort of chuckle at each other for a minute, and then they say, once we've had the conversation and once we've had some after dinner conversation, go look behind the back of the barn.
Thank you.
And if push comes to shove, Rosef, I'd be happy to do some sparring with you in the morning.
Sounds fun.
Eventually, out comes pie, and
Darvin was about to say. Darvin was like, it was one of those. No.
he does get Twilly and Miranda sort of looking at Darvin like.
No, that was snarky, and then sort of held it back. Moment.
Yeah, they look just to make sure that they haven't overridden him or something. Mm-hmm. Exchange a look, and then right, who wants dessert?
Yes. Very much.
And
please.
Yes.
Out comes blueberry pie, and the kids all get a tea, which most of them. Hazel actually recognizes the smell of this. This is the sleepy time. We are going to make sure that you guys go to sleep and stay there. Tea, and the other kids recognize it as well because they're going, Mama, you have the market fair tomorrow. You want to be well rested for that, don't you? Yes, Mama. It's not that it tastes bad. It's just this means we have to go right to bed. And there's company, and it's all exciting.
We don't get to overhear the grown-up conversations.
Well, they're not saying that.
But, they're thinking it. We were all kids. Come on.
Evan and Lissy get cups of that as well. And at this point, you've got Keth and Ramas and Oscar sort of essentially taking Evan in, and Oscar's going, he can have my old bed. I'm finally too big for it. And,
That
Keth
gets
sort
Hazel
of-
reaching over and mussing his hair.
and Keth leans over and musses Hazel's hair because he's a little taller than her, and then scoops Evan up on one shoulder, Oscar up on the other, and gallops off in the direction of the boys' bedroom. And you've got Xana sort of going, looking at Lissy and going, "That's a nice color, but you'd look better in blue. I think we have something." And it's sort of hauling her off in the direction of the girls' room, and Lissy's looking back, going, "Help! What?
It's like, oh
I'm
no.
not really complaining, but what?" Sort of.
Darvin just
behind-
watches Evan disappear, and doesn't stop watching until he can't see him anymore, and then just sort of looks back at his pie, or the rest of it.
At which point, Miranda gets up out of her chair, steps over to Darvin, and gives him a hug. Doesn't say anything. And you get Willie going, "Miranda's the more perceptive one of us. She doesn't say a whole lot, whereas I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I'm gonna shut up now."
Mom hugs. Hazel's gesturing for hugs.
At which point, Twilly does go off and hug Hazel.
Yeah.
Eventually, Miranda stops hugging Darvin, gives his hair a little muss, goes back to the kitchen, comes out with coffee, and it's kind of a bourbon, but it's got a sort of a maple undertaste to it.
And
which point-
Darvin's just sort of like, I wasn't crying. No, I wasn't crying. Nope, not one bit.
Miranda
Nope.
doesn't say anything about it, but Darvin will find that there is a handkerchief next to his plate.
Yeah, it's,
At which point, she doles out coffee and some of this sort of maple liquor kind of. All right. The first question I'm going to have to ask, just from a logistics point of view, young Evan, young Lissy, I take it their parents are no longer with us.
No, ma'am. They aren't.
Well, come the morrow after breakfast, if it's all right with you, and she's looking at Darvin as she said this, we will invite them to stay.
please. I'll send what money I can from here on out.
You don't have to worry about it.
I'm going
Hazel.
to.
Right. Hazel, you can join forces with Hazel in that regard. For those of you who might have been wondering, Hazel has apparently made it her mission to ensure that we are financially solvent, mostly because the local baron is a bit, as we've sort of explained to Nora, our baron does get occasionally tax happy. We're hoping he'll be a little bit easier this
He's an
year.
overreaching, arrogant ass. I'll say it.
Money grubbing dick waffle.
At least he didn't.
At which point, Twilly and Miranda are going, language in complete unison.
At least he didn't kidnap
Yes,
your mom.
At which point, you get Twilly and Miranda looking at Darvin and like, all right, you see, we wanted to get making sure that those two young ones had a home out of the way. Now you're going to tell us everything.
I know Darvin's wounds are the rawest, but I think there's a bigger piece of news we have to share first. And Hazel, I think it needs to come from you.
At which point it actually finally clicks in Darvin's head because he's still been obsessed about what he lost, and realizes and then shuts up like, oh, right.
And Twilly and Miranda are looking at Hazel.
We met Melinda.
I'm going to remind you, out of character, that you have on the locket still.
And pulls off locket and
Miranda's
offers it
eyes
to
just
Miranda.
She just takes it and looks at Hazel. She would never take this off. She knows. You can tell from her face she knows. But she needs to hear it said.
She died.
Closes her
sorry.
hand around the locket.
Not how I want-
Twilly is basically vibrating in her seat. Miranda puts a hand on her shoulder, looks at you all, and there is steel in that expression. Tell us everything. And puts the locket on.
We ran when Hazel and I left here. We ended up at some little tavern up the river and
Oh,
ran.
the frowning trout.
Yes,
And that's where they ran afoul of me.
Darvin.
Very nervous expression on Hazel's face regarding the frowning crowd.
Yeah,
we
Hazel
ran
got us
into
thrown out.
Darvin. He hadn't
And
been
Froseth and
paid
Clarity.
for work that he had done. And you know how Hazel is, and you have an idea of how I am with paying, people who perform a service. And we met up with Clarity and Froseth, and we all decided to go try to get Darvin paid. In the process, Hazel has been banned for life from the Frowning Trout.
And they
That's
both
a very
looked
long
at
story.
her.
Hazel threw a
Yeah.
hammer through the wall, or excuse me, through the crockery.
Dishes. And
That's not a very long story.
the innkeeper was not very happy with the offer to supply him with the name of the person who provides my parents' crockery. But we ended up in
It's just Star Coast.
okay. We ended up on the Star Coast, and when trying to figure out what was going on, because things were very wrong, we found Melinda, and she told us to meet her at her potion shop. And when we showed up, she was gone.
She'd been killed.
I was trying to be delicate.
Melinda
if you'd rather-
She didn't
Melinda
die.
just
She
buried-
wasn't gone. She was murdered.
Murdered.
Melinda just buries her head in her hands, but she's not crying. Make me an insight check.
Oh no, I saw that popped out.
Why did you click it like 4 times?
I only clicked it once. I don't know what
Oh,
it's
no,
doing.
sorry. Oh, twice. Okay.
I only clicked it once. What's it doing? I don't know what it's doing. And I've got normal on. I'm not querying anything.
No.
Hang on, let me click it one more
Well.
time just to see what's going on. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, that time it only popped once, so I don't know.
Froseth! Damn, dude!
Damn, man.
Okay. We're still waiting on
Guess
one
I'll
from...
go too.
Okay.
Sure, we're doing it.
I'm gonna take the highest just out of fairness. all, because let's face it, they all suck.
Except
Um,
Seth, rolling a nat 20.
No, I mean all of your rolls,
I
Gally.
know. God, they were. Oh yeah.
All that Nora can tell is that she's not crying. First, well, what Darvin is mostly getting is that's not even despair, really. Hazel's just weirded out because that's the look that Mama gets when I get sent back for holiday from the temple with a note talking about my manners again, except like 10 times worse. Clarity is more or less along the lines of Darvin. It's like that's not despair, that's not sadness. Froseth is really hypersensitive to the various reactions that people are having to shit. And what he mostly gets is something he's very hypersensitive to at the moment. It's a species of guilt. And Twilly just sort of pats her
Hazel's
on.
gotten up and gone to hug the two
Melinda raises her head and her eyes are dry. It's all right. I'll guess that she was doing something that tied into whatever has you all looking like you look
Yeah.
past the nine hells.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was
We
guarding.
found a secret compartment in her room, and there was a book that we found out was some sort of awful, terrible magic that we destroyed, but it had been in her possession for safekeeping.
It was
And
evil.
Melinda's head goes back into her hands again. And
It was
Twilly
utter
is
evil.
Twilly is also now sort of it got her eyes sort of cast to the floor.
Darvin points out it threw Clarity for a freaking loop when she just barely laid hands on it by accident.
And we destroyed it.
And
Got arrested,
Clarity.
sort of.
well, that was later. We
almost got arrested.
Yeah.
And ended up with Evan's mother and with Petunia, trying to break into the manor and figure out where all of this evil was coming from and what to do about it. And in the process, Evan's mother died, and Petunia sacrificed themselves so that we could get away.
My mother was killed.
Yeah, there's that too.
She didn't
there
die.
was.
Call it what it was. She was.
I
She
didn't
was
say anything
killed.
about your mother yet. I didn't say anything about your mother yet. But you're right. A lot of
you meant
people.
Mira,
I said
yeah.
Mira died. Evan's mother, not Darvin's. Evan's. Evan's mother. Well, and she was killed too. If you want me to be blunt, fine, I'll be blunt. Evan's mother was killed too, by the Lord and by
Baron.
Baron, whatever, nobility.
Levendray. That from Miranda.
That was his
But
name. It won't be if I have anything to say about it.
The Baron had some sort of guest no one knew anything about. She was a powerful magic user. That's all I could tell you. And when Evan's mother was scouting ahead to see if her room was safe for us to enter, they saw right through her and killed her instantly. Turned her into something horrible that I've never seen before, which nearly killed me. And when we finally killed it, it exploded into this cloud of smoke that killed Darvin's mother, among others, and Petunia gave their life so that we could get away from this smoke and from that house. We went back to find Evan and to find Lissy in the safe house that Evan's mother ran, and we found a ship, and here we are.
The safe house had been burned out. Everyone else, as far as we could tell, had been killed. When everyone else, aside from myself and Mira, had been arrested, when we came in, we found Petunia and Froseth, who had stayed behind in the safe house when we went to make our attempt on getting into the manor. Were the only ones left. Like Lisi and Evan had managed to hide. And everything else is as she said. I'll just leave it at that.
Your father made it out.
That's something.
There is that.
So my mother actually let me
sludge.
let me rephrase. My mother wasn't killed. She was more than likely turned into something. There's a lot of unfinished business. There was weird mist. There was black sludge. There were creatures that
used to be people.
Used to be human and aren't anymore.
Or at least beings. Although I didn't see any non-human guards, come to think of it.
Yes, we did. That
Really?
one that was nothing but slime that erupted all over me when Hazel
I
hit it.
meant previous to that.
All right. Fair
I
enough.
meant originally human.
Twilly and Miranda look at Froseth and Clarity just to see if they've got anything to add.
I mean, that's about covers it, but I mean, there were symbols on the floor suggesting it was some sort of cult or some sort of ritual to awaken someone or something. Sleepers or dreamers. There was mention of eaters, the son of the boiling meme. I don't know exactly what most of that means, and I'm not sure if that's any help to anyone.
They then turn and look at Furseth just to see if he's got anything to add.
I can't think of anything else to add to that.
Tully and Miranda look at each other, and there's a lot in that look. That's the look of people who have been married forever. And in unison, they say, "The College of Lore."
Huh?
And they turn around. They turn around to Darwin.
What?
I'm guessing you're more than a musician. This from Miranda.
Oh, we didn't mention that part, did we?
No, just that you hadn't been paid. I
Oh.
wasn't going to give away secrets that weren't mine to
Yeah,
give.
well, the whole reason I didn't get paid was, so I'm there, I'm playing, I'm bored.
What did you do? And it's such a mother tone.
That it
He
doesn't
almost
even,
took
like,
me.
it doesn't even register to Darwin in that moment that that's not his mother. He just immediately goes right into, I made them sneeze feathers. Accidentally,
And
I swear.
Twilly-
There is
Accidentally.
one
Twilly
thing we
and,
forgot
Twilly
to
and
tell
Miranda
Twilly Miranda.
both start laughing.
Well, the
There
guy
is-
was acting like a puffed up rooster, and the head
They're
of the staff
still laughing.
was henpecking everyone, and then my brain made that connection, and then this stuff happened, and feathers.
And they're still laughing.
There is one thing we forgot to mention. The
And
Baron had essentially kidnapped anyone of noble birth. Even if it wasn't forcible kidnapping, it was kidnapping through coercion.
They kidnapped
And
my
had
father.
them there.
They kidnapped my father to make my mother go along with it.
And would have kidnapped you if your father hadn't gotten you out.
Yeah.
So anyone, and then they offered to, they tried to make you stay too, on the promise that we wouldn't be hurt. Have you forgotten that?
Oh, actually, I did. Legitimately, I had a character. I completely forgot that.
and you get Miranda basically going, it's all right. Sometimes when there's something you wouldn't even conceive of, it doesn't even pass it doesn't even touch on your brain.
So that is everything, as far as we
what-
can remember.
So what you're saying, and right now, for the moment, they're focused on Darwin,
Right.
is that you're a bard,
Yes, I guess.
newly.
I played magic. Stuff happened. That's all I know. Then later on, I played music and made a thing go glowy so that people could hit it. And I tried to do a thing, but it didn't work. Yeah.
This time it's Twilly who holds up a hand and goes, You're a bard. Trust us on this. You are a bard. And there's going to be bards, proper bards, at the fair tomorrow.
Okay.
We've heard rumors that there might be representatives of the College of Lore there, which would be kind of a first because very seldom do they wander as far as our little town, even singly, never mind groups of them, so there must be something going on, which, as you pointed out, there very clearly is. And Miranda just puts a hand on her shoulder. You're babbling again. Right? Sorry.
Oh, vine blades. We forgot those.
Oh yeah, vine blades. I just took those as part of the something very
and they look at each other and they look at each other. This doesn't even take an insight roll. There's just a crapping at this again sort of look. Not even scared, just rolling their eyes at.
Vine blights and that big thing that read minds and things that were essentially
Well, that was in the under.
people-
That was in the under. We took care of that for Mira and Petunia, though. That wasn't anything
Yes.
related to that.
And the chest that wasn't a chest.
Yeah.
And at which point the two of them in unison just mimic.
That nearly ate me too. That's happening a lot.
Well, the thing with the one,
just-
and the thing with the
Twilly
one
just
eye that
gives
turned
her
out to have two
sympathetic-
eyes.
They're just sort of shaking their heads at this point, and there's that look of Nora is probably the only one who's ever seen this look. It's parents looking at each other, remembering the early whirlwind of their marriage. You're going, and then Miranda turns around. You're going to want to talk to the people that are coming to this market fair. You had to go anyway because the blacksmith and
I also think I might need to write a letter home at some point.
well, you could probably do worse than contact your old temple.
Could do that too.
Make
And we-
me another
Could definitely
insight
do
check.
that too.
And at some point, we need to go back.
Not yet. We aren't ready yet.
I didn't say we were. I said we need to.
Hey, I got 19. I got a much better roll that
All of
time.
us?
Thus, Christine was asking everybody needs to make an
Yeah.
insight check.
Everybody.
Okay.
Darvin is way too focused on the revenge thing.
Mhm.
Froseth has now gone to the shit. He wouldn't be quite on this manner of revenge ride if it weren't for having kicked in the wrong direction. I really need a training dummy like now. Hazel, Clarity, and Nora. Maybe it's a female intuition thing, but there's something. I mean, on the surface, they're being, they're being supportive parents, but they all notice that these two homespun, country housewives are not fazed by this at all. The most reaction they've had beyond grieving for younger sister, and even that was more of a, oh, for pity's sake, why did she do something so stupid as anything. They should be more fazed than this.
I think on some level, Nora's thinking this feels very familiar.
She probably very much is. Hazel, for the most part, is going, suddenly, this is starting to make a bit more sense. There's always been most of her friends, although they were they were always the weird Hearth kids, basically, in town, because most of the settlement's human. But the few friends and acquaintances she made, they didn't talk about their parents having, like, that chest that nobody opens. And their parents certainly wouldn't be particularly keen on them going out adventuring. It's basically what Hazel has is this sudden epiphany. They were adventurers.
And her expression basically indicates Epiphany just smacked her upside the face.
And you get Miranda and Twilly just looking at Hazel and then just face palming. You were never, and Miranda just turns around, you were never going to be old enough for us to tell you. Not for a very long time. Not
Yes,
according
Mama.
to your instructors at the temple.
Ask Mama.
Do you have any questions?
Have you run into anything like we've been dealing with?
Not quite, no. Our time was a long time ago. They turn and they look at Darvin. Have you been a musician for a long time? Not a bard, obviously, a musician.
Yes, all my life.
Have you ever... There's one ballad, I think, that survived. Have you ever heard the ballad of the quick flight diminutives? Nora's heard this. Darvin's heard this. It's an old favorite because it is the epitome of the underdog winning out. It's an old rollicking tavern tune about a mercenary team of the smallest. There were a couple of halflings, a couple of gnomes, a dwarf who apparently made explosives.
I like it.
But the thing is that one talked about a Twila and her lover Rand, her male lover Rand.
That was you.
I decided that it would probably be easier on Twilly's reputation if I posed for a while.
My mother sings that song maybe once a fortnight. I know that song. That's you.
You will have heard about 40 years ago there was a fairly sizable war in the southern countries, and Twilly was on long leave with the just so that you're aware, her maiden name is Quickflight. She came to the Star Coast and points surrounding for a long leave, and she and I met, and one thing led to another, and I went with her. I was never sure what our family disapproved of most, falling in love with a woman, leaving home with said woman to go into a war zone, or the fact when I came back to try to say hello and patch things up, I was somewhat proficient in the gentle art of bookkeeping for a mercenary company and assassination. So, if there was ever any mention of how that happened, let's just say that 3 solid days of screaming, followed by having the family Book of Palor thrown at my head, that would have been it. In any case, we only stayed with the campaign another couple of more years. That's why there's only ever been the one ballad. When the war was finally done, we saw what wartime had done to the countryside and the families. We took home 3 war orphans, all we could find, and we took our earnings and we bought this place. And we've been taking in those that have been dispossessed, mistreated, unwanted ever since. We're not looking to go back into adventuring, but we're hardly going to be shocked, even if it does sound as world-ending as what you seem to have tripped over.
That's one word for it.
It does, however, mean that we have some suggested avenues, some suggested people to speak to. That's part of why we're discussing the College of Lore. We had thought about mentioning this to Hazel, but she's never been much for that sort of thing. And besides, I think we probably want her to grow up a little bit more. Nora,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can you use a broadsword?
I can.
When you speak to the College of Lore, ask them about Palor's Beacon.
Pelor's Beacon. All right.
if you came from a monastery, first, that would make you a journeyman monk.
Yes.
Can we ask for some more clarification than that?
Well, the monastery I come from is a monastery. It follows the four elements, so earth, fire, wind, water. It's in tune with nature.
Right. You'll want to tell that to the bards you'll meet. We haven't had very much experience with that particular school, if you like, but we know that if there's something that the College of Lore doesn't know, it's not worth knowing, or it's so far beyond the realm of mortal experience that they'll probably send someone to find it just for a laugh half the time. Clarity.
Yes.
Forgive us, but a lot of the additions that you've had to this conversation have been matters of the arcane.
Yes. I study it.
But you don't carry a staff.
No, I'm a rogue by trade. Well, sort of fell into it really.
Well,
You're a rogue by practice, Clarity.
More or less, yes.
but you're a tiefling rogue
Yes.
with an interest in the arcane. Tell them that, they'll love you.
I'm sure they would.
Well, I think they'll have a few suggestions of how to use some of what you've taught yourself and the bloodline. That it may get you some funny looks, but it can prove very useful.
Well, I'm used to funny looks. I could use all the information I could get.
And Twilly sort of goes, well, you shouldn't be. It's completely unfair. Miranda puts a hand on her shoulder. One injustice at a time. Let's save. Let's help them save the world, and then we can talk about how people are treated in it.
Thank you, though.
Hazel?
Your mother is going to dump hot coffee on your lap if you don't mind your tongue.
And Miranda just sort of smiles, going, well, somebody's doing my job for me. What we were going to say, what we were going to say, Hazel, is that you have the most important job of all here. I know that your heart often tells you to strike first, to strike hard, and to end the threat before it starts. But of these people, you have a gift that almost none of them have, and certainly not to the strength you do. You have a bard, a rogue, a paladin, and a monk. They are your fighters, they are your sources of information, but you have to keep them alive. From the sounds of it, the world depends on it. Go back to the temple, both of you, after this is done. See what they have to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Get allies from wherever you can. That's the main thing that we learned. But first, you've had a bit of a shock, which is understating the case, I understand. Stay a couple of days. Come to the market fair, get your armor fixed. We'll see what we have in storage. Get some rest, get some decent food, get yourselves as supplied as you can here in Goldendale. And then set yourselves up a game plan. Anytime you are planning to go back there because I know you are. I know you can't do anything but. You're a day's sail away or so from here. You can feel free to use this as a base of operations. As long as we keep it still kicking around. Tax season is coming.
I thank
Another
you,
hug
but
for
I don't
Hazel
know
happens.
if I feel safe with the kids. The things that happen,
This is where you'd be coming from if you're careful not to be followed. At the end of the day, Nora, it may not be safe for them, but if you don't have a safe place to start from, a safe place to resupply, a safe place to recover, are they going to be safe anyway?
you
Better,
make a very
better,
hard argument.
better to be in a little bit of danger now than their entire world end underneath them.
She's not wrong. Which is the first thing Darvin said in quite some time. So during all this,
Okay, and this is going to be in character, and it's completely surprising me, but here we go. I failed keeping people safe once already. I don't need to have it happen again to children.
Twilly and Miranda each share a look. There's a nod and a sigh. Twilly gets up, steps towards the kitchen, and from out of absolutely nowhere, Miranda has a dagger and is flinging it at Twilly's head. Twilly holds out a hand. Shimmering globe, half globe, forms around her hand, and the dagger bounces off. Feel better?
A little.
at
We
this
just
point,
don't.
at this point, Darvin's going to stand up. I'm assuming Nora is Nora. Nora, are you across from the table from me?
I am wherever people are telling me I'm sitting. I didn't really envision where I was sitting.
All right.
Well, you can be across the table from.
I'm gonna
Sure.
put, just for the sake of this moment, I'm putting Nora and Froseth across the table from me. I am standing up. I am placing both hands palm down on the table. I am leaning forward to the both of them, looking them both as much in the eye as I can from this position, and I am saying point blank, enunciating every word for clarity. This was not your faults. And then sitting back down. And then taking a big swallow and
Twilly just sort of quietly fills his glass of maple liquor back up again. Given what you said about your armor, says Twilly, I'm guessing that, and I can still see some shading from some of the bruises, I'm guessing that if you didn't go completely unconscious, you came very close.
It was a near thing. Not quite there, but near.
They're alive. They're untouched.
But not everyone in that room was.
Willie at that point is more serious than she's ever seen. Even Hazel's ever seen her. Sits down on the bench next to her and goes, I used to run a mercenary company. Know how many people I lost? How many people I saw die?
How many?
I can't even count anymore. But I can tell you this. Fewer and fewer. Every time. I learned that it wasn't my fault, but that I could be better. You can't learn without failing from time to time, dear.
I just wish the failure hadn't cost people's lives.
And that's what's going to make you a very good paladin.
Thank you.
That is what's going to make all of you very good heroes. This from Miranda, who's still sitting in her spot. You know the cost. It's not good that it had to be learned that way. On the other hand, from what I can understand of your story, you made allies. If you had been different people, if you had done things any differently, this Petunia you spoke of, would they have been in the position? Would they have cared enough to bring you out alive? To warn others?
Would we have been able to save Evan?
And Lissy? And yourselves? To warn? To fight? You're going to be heroes. You already are. You just need to see that and to know that being a hero doesn't mean winning every battle. It just means winning the ones that count and saving who you can. You'll learn. And you know how badly you have to. And that's a burden I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Yeah, I forgot something very important.
Mhm.
Not all songs are epics. Some of them are tragedies. Happens.
I
At the end of the day, that mist you spoke of, it's not here.
We
It
have a
doesn't have
chance.
to be.
Sorry.
No, it's good that you're seeing this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Honestly, I want to hear and see all of you seeing this. We're a little long in the tooth for that sort of thing. We can protect our own. But all we can offer now, beyond protecting our young ones and keeping doing what we do, is to offer you a place to recover. As long as we have one. Let us do that. It's the last way we have to be heroes.
We can't use my house.
That's how far is my parents' inn from here?
It's about a 4-day journey over land.
All right. I want you both to promise me one thing, as silly as it is of me to ask. If things go sideways, go south, go whichever direction is wrong, head to my parents' tavern and tell them I sent you.
We'll send the little ones that will go, but one thing you have to understand, Keth in particular, the older ones as a general rule, but Keth in particular, this place is everything to him. He will not leave this place alive, and we can't talk him out of that. This is another one of those situations where you have to understand you can't save everyone, but you have to let people help where they can.
And I can try to save as many as I can in the meantime.
You can. You had a very long few days. Take a rest. And tomorrow, you've all been learning to a point, but you've been learning in the safe places. You've been learning in the temples, in the monasteries, in the taverns, in wherever you could sneak into. Now it's time to learn in the world, and it has consequences. We'll do what we do with all of our charges, our young ones. We'll lead you on those first few steps to wherever your future will take you. And then we'll let you go with the knowledge you always have a home. Right. It's a busy day tomorrow, and don't make us feed you. the tea we gave the young ones. Hazel has always hated it anyway. It's always been like pulling teeth trying to get her to drink it at all.
Honestly, I might take you up on that of choice.
Actually,
God knows I need a good night's sleep.
same.
But
Hazel
before
gets up.
Darvin, can I talk to you semi-privately at least for a moment?
There's actually a little vestibule where all the kids' coats and things are hung. It's enough to guarantee privacy of a sort, particularly if Hazel and Clarity and Nora want to help with dishes and things.
And you know Nora will. Nora's gonna be elbows deep in dishwater.
Hazel also, but first she's going to hug Nora. And then just go straight to the dishes.
Nora. Actually, Hazel gets sort of nudged away from the dishes, and she's sort of slice up what remains of the duck for sandwiches. We know how you are with dishes. Clarity gets a dish. Clarity gets a dish towel. Nora gets sort of a scrubbing brush. You wash, you dry. We'll put away.
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
we get to work.
Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah,
Go.
so get pull
Mhm.
Darvin aside to the semi-private
Yeah.
area. Like, I know you just said it's not my fault, and they went on about learning from it, but I have cost you something I have never known, and seeing the kind of atmosphere here, I can't imagine what it would be like losing that. I owe you something I can never repay.
It really wasn't your fault. Did you see the speed at which that thing vaporized?
I did.
Even if you hadn't, hell, it going off in the direction it did at least put it far enough away from us so we could get out. Where they were situated in that room, from where it was, there was no chance of them getting around or through or out of there without running face first
Yeah.
into that crap. I finally put that together. Seeing it literally chase us out of that place. Yes, okay, I held a grudge for a little while. I was raw. Sitting here, seeing this, and realizing what we're fighting to save, it's not your fault. Point blank. I'm leaving it at that.
Froseth just nods and stays silent at that.
Thank you, because I'm like, God, I am so caught up in the moment here. It's not even funny. Fuck. Oh, shit. Whew.
Wow, that was.
Oh, Christ.
Once the dishes have been sorted out and put away, and there's bits of leftover for sandwiches the next day. Hazel is basically led back to her old bed because it hasn't been filled yet. Clarity, Nora, Darvin, and Froseth are led to the basically finished structure next to the barn. Although before then, they lead all of you, with the exception of Hazel, she'll pick it up in the morning, round to behind the stable where there is a fairly well used target dummy. There are some scorch marks on it, and it's clearly got some dagger. There's clearly been some daggers embedded in it. At which point, Miranda just goes, "One thing, we're first," and then just leads you on. This means Hazel never knows how much earlier Twilly and Miranda really wake up than she ever has.
And I'm not kidding when I say that Nora's. I'm gonna kind of nudge Froseth with my elbow. I carry a quarterstaff specifically for sparring drills, so while they're doing that, we can work on it. It's okay.
Sounds good.
In the larger structure, Keth is already in there because by this point he's outgrown the halfling size plane. I mean, Froseth was having to duck a little bit because it was mostly made for halflings and children. One of the jokes around the dinner table was actually that most of the young ones essentially decided to move out because they got tired of hitting their heads on the ceiling.
Well, Froseth is, 6.5 feet tall? He'll probably be hitting his head on things.
Well,
He'll have to stoop a little.
he was in there and he did have to stoop when walking, but the place next to the barn, Keth is it's basically a 2-room structure. They quietly nudge one door open, and you can hear Keth sort of quietly snoring in the far corner. There's basically bunk beds along both walls with this sort of a couple of comfy chairs and a little table in the middle on one side, and the girls have something similar. It's just that they haven't got anyone big enough or hadn't until Clarity and Nora came by to really
Nora's not real
necessitate.
tall. Nora's
No,
5'7".
not very tall, but what they do explain is it's not so much the ceilings for you both, it's the beds. Most of our beds were made for people sort of closer to 5 feet than 6.
I can curl up. It's okay.
But this is why Keth built this place. He built it so that when we had company, and so he'd have a place to stay. He's gonna. We were serious. When we finally pass on, he's gonna take over.
Wait, if Keth built this, what did Khan do?
Khan did leave rather earlier. He always wanted to bring things back. You see, he's been traveling as a peddler for quite some time. But
I guess I didn't realize you've been doing it that long.
No, we've been doing it for about 40 years. Remember, halflings don't age quite like humans do.
No, but I didn't think Khan had been peddling that long.
Oh,
I didn't think he'd left home quite that early.
No, he's 25 now. He's been out on his own for a good 7 years.
Huh. Goodness.
He just drops by fairly often because he wants to help keep the place going in his own way. A lot of our little ones, one way or another, decide to try to help. Hazel's just always been the more
vocal.
Well, I was going
Lady?
Enthusiastic.
That's a good word. We'll stick with that one. Your bardic and storytelling talents are clearly standing you in good stead. In any case, we also did decide that when Keth said he was going to stay permanently, we thought we might have older guests, and Hazel was going to come back and visit. And when she brought Nora, we thought, well, this would be a better idea. In any case, so instead of having this as a house, we've made it into sort of a boarding spot for, I hesitate to say normal-sized people, because here, normal...
Taller than halfling.
That's probably a better way to say it. But in any case, the beds are comfortable and they're clean and they're quite new. So if you need any extra blankets, you can come through to the main house. There's some in the linen chest just down the corridor to the left. And someone will come to make you for breakfast. Unless you'd like us to wake you early for training.
I'd like to be woken early, please.
Yeah.
So Hazel probably will not be up until it's
Necessary.
until it's Zana poking her and talking about cake pans. That was always Zana's fault, in case you ever wondered. She
Rosette
couldn't
probably is going to recall the cake panning hell question.
she couldn't remember pancakes when she first joined us, Zana. So it became cake pans, and you know how it is with Hazel. The sillier it is, the more it'll stick. And you get Twilly sort of, as Miranda heads off to bed, Twilly stops and goes, "You will take care of her, won't you? I know she's silly, but her heart is in the right place."
I made a promise to the shrine, and I made a promise to both of you, and here she is, none the worse for wear.
But when I say you will look out for her, I don't just mean her as meat and bones. She can be more.
I try. I admit I'm not as patient as either of you with her most days, and I try to be better at it.
Maybe patience isn't what she needs. Maybe she needs a good sharp shock. We just can't give it to her. That's not us.
You're her mothers. It's always different when you're the parents. At least that's what I've heard.
Twilly just Paylor's light isn't as bright as her smile, because it's pretty clear that a lot of the people in the nearby town, they are not as accepting of the fact that these are their children. And she gives you a little curtsy and rest well, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is where we'll leave it until 2 weeks from now.
That was the cutest thing!
I figured you guys could all use some bonding and
And I still cried a lot.
Hey, you weren't the only one this time around.
Nice that it wasn't just me.
no, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You guys are great.
Yeah, seriously, Antheus, that was amazing.
Okay, so
We'll just-
I will grab all of you that I need to talk to in the next couple of weeks, and we'll reconvene again next week for the Goldendale Market Fair.
Wait,
Thank you very
mean
Sounds fun.
in 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes, next session. You know what I mean. I'm just used to.
Sorry, just
Port-
making
no.
sure.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know I wouldn't do that to you without warning.
Okay.
Anyway, good night, all.
Good night, all. I'll stop
Night.
recording right now.